Welcome back to the Rebel Project podcast, where we dive into conversations with people who cut their own path, follow their faith and truth, and live an unapologetic purpose. Today, I am honored to sit with a man who has not only left his mark on motocross, but has carved out a life so raw and real and radically independent that it forces you to question your own. So I'm here with Ryno Hughes, as a former professional motocross champion, a high-level motocross coach, and the founder of Ryno Power and the Ryno Institute, and a man who now lives completely off the grid just outside of Temecula. He's known for his grit, his honesty, his holistic lifestyle, and his refusal to live by the world's script. If you're ready to challenge the way you think about health, masculinity, and what it means to live free, well, this conversation is going to hit you hard. Let's get right into it. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Good to be here, man. Well, actually, thank you not to be here because I'm at home. So thank you for driving all the way out here and doing it outside. First time you have been mobile. So I like first times, you know?
Heck yeah.
I like first times.
Being spontaneous is kind of fun, and putting myself on a new challenge is a great way to do it. So
Good.
I'm stoked.
Yeah.
I got a lot of questions to ask you, man.
Ask away, man. I like them. I told you not to tell me questions because I like to be spontaneous. That's how I work the best, is spontaneous, not having to think about something, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because again, everybody wants to be scripted. Everybody wants to sound right. Everybody wants to sound politically correct. Everybody wants to sound smart. So they plan stuff out and this and that. You know, screw that. And it just, you know, speak from the heart, speak from the mind, speak from your intuition, your instinct. Yeah. And then you're truthful, you know, then you're real. So that's the way I look at it.
Well, we're going to try and get to the bottom of that and where you found that and why you call, why, I mean, I listened to one of your Instagrams on the way out here, and you were talking about your superpowers, your 4 superpowers. Mm-hmm. And we're going to dive into all of that. So what this show is about is I'm really inspired by people who find their grit, they find their passion, and they don't care who is in their way, what is in their way. They just go after it. And obviously you come from a lifestyle and the industry of motocross, and we're going to talk about that, but I also want to talk about how you came to be the Ryno and how that charged life and this mentality of going your own way no matter what came to be. Because I think a lot of men, I work with a lot of men, I talk with a lot of men, and I see that there's a lack of grit, there's a lack of power, there's a lack of belief in themselves, and you seem to have an abundance of it. So we're going to dive right into it.
Okay.
So the first question I got is that, you know, you've lived a very intense, purpose-driven life, as many have seen, but I want to know, where did your journey of pursuing excellence and pushing your own limits really begin?
Shoot, man. I can't say there's any time or person or situation. Just some people are just born that way, you know. And I was, you know, my mom said I came out mad. Was that mad or was that just intense? You know, and I think I'm very intense because, like, even yesterday, myself and my woman were carrying this table, and she's like, I got it. And she started to fall, and that's just like, you know, it's like, I'm like, you sure you got it? You told me you got it. If you drop this thing, you know, and it's just, and I wasn't mad, but it's just like, when I put my mind to get to something and it's important or whatever, then this other like kind of power energy comes out of me, and it's you know, it's just like when I put my mind to something, well, then I get it done. And it's not, I've never, you know, it's not like I have a bunch of goals. I don't think I've ever had a goal in my life. I've never set a goal.
Interesting.
Never. I just do what makes me happy. I do what interests me. I do what keeps a spark in me, you know, and that is a goal enough, you know, because I feel too many people put goals out there, and goals are in the future. You know what I mean? And they're so fixated on this goal that they're forgetting about the journey. Yeah. I love the journey. Fuck the goal. You know, because, okay, you get to the goal, now what? Now you got to make another one. You get to the end, now you got to make another one, right? What about staying on the journey and then just keeping on the journey and keeping on the journey? It's like, my biggest thing is water the roots, not the leaves, right? So it doesn't matter if you have a goal or not. If the journey is what makes you happy and what makes you tick and what makes you motivated and what makes you inspired, well, then, you know, then stay there. So, you know, I just have always been, you know, like very, I don't know, just driven. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, even when I was a younger kid playing soccer, I was like the best on the team, best in the league. You just played, never took me off the field, because back then little Johnny didn't have to play. You know, everybody didn't need their time. If you're the best, you stay on the field, right? Because back in the 80s and all that, you know, it was like, we win. Now it's like, well, let's make sure everybody gets their time, and then everybody gets a little trophy. Bullshit. Yeah. You know, and that's why most of these men nowadays, and younger men, they've been brought up that way. They've been brought up soft. You know, they've been brought up pampered. They've been brought up, you know, entitled.
Yeah.
And, you know, and this is why you're lost. This is why you can't find yourself. This is why you feel like, you know, you're not, you know, you're almost feeling less than, because it's nothing else. It's just this internal DNA of being a man. And it's your instinct, your intuition. This is what really drives you. This is what you're really going off of. Not, oh, I have this many followers, I have this much money, I have these letters behind my name, I'm driving this car, I'm living in this house, and blah, blah, blah. That's all fictitious shit, man.
Yeah.
You know, because I never seen a hearse with luggage racks. So you don't take anything with you when it's done.
That's true.
You know? So when you're fixated on all that stuff, you're never going to be fulfilled, because once you get it, now what?
Yeah.
And then you get too much of it, then you're in this state of fear of that you might lose it, and the stress of how to keep it, right? And so when you're just going off your instincts and intuitions, well, then you're feeling life. You're feeling yourself, not thinking what it should be or shouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
You know, you're always in your head, and that's what this world is lost, is feeling. They don't know how to feel stuff. They don't know how to feel the right direction. They don't know how to feel what's right for them and what's wrong for them. They don't know how to feel what they should push away and what they should bring to them, because they're so fixated on this whole social media thing of you know, all these people just being fake on there, thinking that they're this health practitioner, that they're this life guru, that they're this rich person, that they're this super buff guy, that they're super beautiful woman. But go hang out with them people for a fucking week, and you'll see all that's fake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You'll see that's fake. And that's where, for me, it just kind of just started going on. When I played football, same thing. Never left the field. Punter, kicker, defensive end, quarterback. You know, I mean, it was, of course, Pop Warner, but it was just that mentality. Once I found motocross, you know, I won my first 6 races. And in 6 years, I went from starting motocross to finishing 5th in my first national. That's unheard of, you know? And it's not patting myself on the back. It's just the way I've been brought up, you know? And so, I guess another thing, I never hold regrets, you know? I never blame, and I never hold regrets. What's happened, done, you know, move on. And so when something happens, I never, you know, I might get pissed off or bummed out for a second, but then it's instantly, okay, what are we going to do, and how are we going to fix it, and how are we going to improve, and how are we going to prosper, right? Yeah. So just like moving out here, you know, I moved out here without really wanting to, it just kind of fell in my lap, and, you know, I started with nothing here.
Right.
Nothing, zero on this property. And so I got divorced, and so bought a 5th wheel, brought it out here, and I said, all right, if I don't do this, it's not going to happen. So I got a 5th wheel, put it out here, dumped the tanks, filled it with water, went to the pound, got a dog, and said, all right, here we go. And I did this all on my own. And so for 5 years, I've been living out here on my own, except some visitors every once in a while, some female visitors. But now I have a woman in my life, and she has a little 4-year-old, you know, and so we all live out here now, and you know, so it's brought some peace to me. But you know, so I guess just that mentality has just been born in me, because, like I say, I don't follow any beliefs, I don't follow any theologies, I don't follow any person. You know what I mean? Because I feel in life, you know, if you look at nature, it's so imperfect that it's perfect. Yeah. Right? Nature, life, God, whatever you want to say, doesn't make duplicates. Only makes one of a kinds, masterpieces. And that's what we are. But everybody wants to fall in line with this belief. Everybody wants to fall in with this look. Everybody wants to follow in with, you know, this status. And that's where you're getting lost.
Right.
Because anytime that you're being fake, anytime you're not being real, there's going to be an anxiety in you. Right? And so then you're going to start questioning yourself. And that's where I feel a lot of men are getting lost right now, is that they're trying to fit in. Who do you want to fit in with? You know, who in the hell would you ever want to fit in with?
Yeah.
You know, because again, you might want to fit in with this guy that's wrote that book, or you see him on TV, or you see him on social media, but go hang out with him for a week. And I'll guarantee you have a completely different outlook on them, and you're probably doing better and tougher and stronger and more wise and more put together than they are.
Right.
There's a lot of people who can just speak really well and can look really well, but behind the scenes, they're a mess.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
I mean,
I guess
I
that's
don't even know where to dive in. You just gave me so much right there. One of the things you said was like back when you were younger, you just chased happiness. But I wonder, is it really happiness that you were chasing, or is it just that feeling of alive? Because I watch a lot of your motocross coaching videos, and you talk about how the rider just needs to feel motocross and feel the track instead of think about it. And you've always been very grounded in that sense of like really just feeling it, and playing is a way better feeling than sitting on the bench, like in football and soccer. So was it the feeling of alive that you were after, or just the vividness of every experience that you were in? Because you just dive straight in. You don't look back, and you just keep pushing.
I mean, I wouldn't say back in the day I was chasing happiness, because
Okay.
what's happiness?
Yeah.
Nobody can tell you what that is, because to everybody it's different. To everybody it's different. And if you're looking for happiness, you're never going to find it, because again, that's the goal, right? The roots is what keeps you happy. So my little analogy to find happiness is simplicity. First, you got to start with simplicity of lifestyle, simplicity with mindset, right? And if you have simplicity of lifestyle and mindset, that you're not all having to work till the wee hours of the morning just to pay your bills, right? Or you're not all cluttered in the head with all this fear and doubt and unfulfillment.
Yeah.
Right. Well, then you have freedom of time, freedom of mind. And anybody that has freedom of time and mind can usually be creative with your mind, creative with your lifestyle, creative with your hobbies, creative with your talents, creative with whatever. And I've never seen an unhappy creative person. Right. So when you're creating, like when you're doing this stuff, you're happy. Right. But then when you get back in your truck and drive home, and then all this shit around life and stuff and maybe relationship or whatever starts to sink in. But when you're doing something that you're creating, you're a happy person. So you can't be just happy, right? You got there's a road to it.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're fixated on just being happy, well, then everything that you look at might start to diminish that. Right. And so that's just my little analogy of how to try to find happiness, but you have to start at simplicity. And that's where a lot of people have gone wrong, and same with men, is they think they need more. I need more likes, I need more followers, I need more money, I need more status, I need more. Well, more just creates more anxiety, there's more pressure, and there's no way to be happy that way. Because again, you talk to many people, and some of the richest people they know are the most unhappy.
Yeah.
And that's stupid. But then you go to South America and you see people that have nothing and they're happier as can be. And so, this world has gotten lost because we've been taught in school, because they took away our creativity and they made us all ambitious.
Yeah.
An ambitious mind always only wants more and be better. And so there's never a stop. It's just like on a big hamster wheel, right? And so that's the kind of the chase that all these men are getting in, because then men, of course, want women. Well, women are so fixated on if a man doesn't have a fucking Ferrari or $1 million or a CEO, that he's not a man. Dude, I challenge any of these boys. You know what I mean? Take your Ferrari away, take your money away, take your CEO away, and see how big your chest is.
Right.
Can you walk around with your chest high?
Yeah,
They'll walk around slumped because now they feel like they're nothing, because those things are making them feel like they're something, right? And so that's where a lot of people are gone wrong, and not looking at the roots of somebody, right?
No.
Because again, nothing's taken.
Nobody looks underneath.
No, and nothing is taken with you.
Yeah,
you leave everything behind here. Everything. So why are you so fixated on gaining when you got to give it all back?
It's a deep game. I mean, I come from a lot of these coaching and men's groups and masterminds, and they teach you that it's all your habits, and those habits are going to help get you whatever you want, and there's an art to having it all. And I've there's something been deep down inside of me that says, no, that's not it. So which is why I wanted to start the Rebel Project and go the opposite way. But once I started this 2 years ago, I ended up just doing an imitation of what I knew. Mm-hmm. And I had to crumple it all up and go back and be like, no, more is not the answer. Less is it. So I've put my place up for rent. I'm liquidating all of the possessions I own, and I want to have nothing because then I'm not owned by anything.
Exactly.
And I'm going through that process, and I wonder if a lot of men find this on their own, if that's what the midlife crisis is, or if they never find it, that that wisdom, that truth. Like if you just pay attention, like you're saying, you look at nature, you go around and look, there is no duplicate anywhere. But everyone's trying to duplicate and scale and use all these processes, and they're getting so far away from who they are. And at the end of the day, they're going to have all these materials, and they're not going to have any relationship. They're not going to have anyone to remember them or even show up at their funeral. But yet they got everything they wanted.
Yeah.
And it's such a twist. And I want to kind of dive into, do you see a difference between like material world and material wisdom and material gain versus spiritual? Is the spiritual kind of what you're talking about, the roots and stuff?
Well, the thing is that, you go to, when men hit their midlife crisis or whatever, a midlife crisis to me is an about face, meaning that everything on the exterior of you, the outside world, used to entertain you, getting this chick, having this money, having this car, having that. But after a while, after you had it, it just doesn't interest you anymore. So you have to do an about face, and you start looking inside.
Yeah.
First, most guys divorce, they get the hot chick, they get the red Corvette and the Tommy Bahama shirt, right? Look at me, because that's what they thought made them happy. But then after a year,
so they double down on it.
Well, after a year, they break up with a chick, they sell the Corvette, you know what I mean? And because they found out that that's not what brought them happiness. It's just like an athlete retiring and then coming back and then retiring a year later. Yeah. Because you went into this void of like, who am I? And then you went back to the past of like, well, this is when I felt alive doing this. And then you went back and did it, and you found out that the sport or whatever it is wasn't really what was causing you, creating that happiness in you. And so it's an about face, and then you start to start looking at yourself, and you start chipping away at yourself if you're wise. Yeah. If you're wise, if you're that. And then, I don't know, again, the spiritual world and the religious world and all that to me is just, I don't know. It's just like a bunch of badges and a bunch of cool names. Look at me, I'm this and I'm that, and look how I dress, and I can talk more spiritual than you, and I can look more religious than you. It's a game. It's a competition. It's an ego to me. You know what I mean? It's why do you need religion? Why do you need spirituality? Why don't you just focus in yourself, and what's around you? And again, if you look at all religions, where did all these guys or all these masters, so to speak, from a Jesus to a Buddha to a Muhammad to and on and on and on, where did they find their God? Where did they find their, enlightenment or whatever? It was nature. Nature is your teacher. Mm-hmm. Nature is your medicine. Nature is your God. Again, focus on the creation, not the creator, right? You focus too much on the creator, meaning you focus too much on the goal. You miss the path you miss the path that's bringing you to that goal. You're missing the path that's bringing you to that happiness or whatever. And it's the little things. The little things make the big things. The immediate makes the ultimate, right? And so many people are focused on these big things, big, instead of letting the little things, enlighten you a little bit. It's even like in your lifestyle. Yeah. The little things are what keeps you happy, because there's a lot of stuff that you have to do every day that becomes monotonous. Brush your teeth, go to bed, you drink your coffee, whatever. So I make sure I have the best toothbrush that I can find, the best toothpaste I can find, the coolest coffee mug that I can find, around the world, whatever, the best sheets, the best pillow, whatever you can afford, the best soap, the best, all the stuff, the best, because that brings a little spark to stuff. Yeah. Ah, cool, man. Oh, yeah, I love this cup, right? Oh, these pillow and the sheet. Instead of just taking, the everyday thing for granted and always focused on, if I make $1 million, I can't wait till I get this car, if I have that hot chick. Yeah, but that's 5% of your day, 5% of your life or whatever. What about the other 95 where it's just the mundane, everyday things? That's where you find kind of your happiness, is through these little things that nobody sees. Right. Only you see, and that's kind of how I click, is that, I love things that are unique. Uniqueness is beauty to me. Yeah. The more unique, the better. Like this table, I've been looking for this table for a while, and I finally found it yesterday, and so I freaking bought it, so that's kind of how I work, is that, focus on the roots of stuff, focus on the little things. Don't get into the clouds, Yeah. Don't get out in outer space. Stay here. Focus on this. And you'll start to look at the world different. You start to hum in a different tone.
Yep.
Right. So,
yeah. I remember a couple of years ago, you were talking on Instagram, and you were talking about how you've given everything to motocross, and motocross has taken a lot from you, and it's also given a lot to you. And I kind of saw you pivot and kind of go into this lifestyle and searching almost, if you will, for that vibration, that feeling, that truth, that nature. And was that similar to the about face you're talking about? Was that your about face, where it's just like, I've finished motocross in a sense, and it's not fulfilling me the way that it did, so I'm called to something else. I'm going this way because it's where my heart is leading me.
I guess the thing is, I've never searched for anything. It was an intuition, like something felt right. Something felt right. And, I'm a very honest person, and I don't hide anything from anybody. So I would say, I picked up one book, and it just opened my eyes, and that was Sex and Superconsciousness from Osho. Mm-hmm. I never read anything, I never grew up religious at all. Like my mom and dad never talked about it, never took me to church, and thank you so much. But I did have to go to a Christian school because I was kind of a crazy kid, and that's the only thing they thought could, do that. And yeah, it was a good school, and it was this, but to me, it's the one mistake I think my mom made, because once you don't know anything about God or anything like that, the first thing that you find out about it is, it becomes you. The first time you find the information about anything, you hold on to it. It's like an imprint. So to get out of that mindset takes time. Takes time to realize that you're not being judged, to realize that this heaven and hell that people are so fixated on is fictitious, because I ask people, if you didn't have a reward and a consequence from what you follow, would you follow it? And people go, never thought about that. Exactly. Right. So that, and then I did a DMT experience, and that was just like mind blowing. Yeah. And I had no idea what it was. It's just my buddy said, "Hey man, Danny Way was like, hey, I'm going to this, place with Paul Check, and we're going to have this, this ceremony thing." I'm like, ceremony thing. So I went in it, it just kind of blew my mind. And then that book just started, something resonated, something just clicked. So I just started kind of following it and reading this book and that book and this and this, and started just really kind of opening my mind to different ways, different ideas, different thoughts, different, even different theologies and religions and stuff like that. But then I came to a point that seems like just everybody's talking about the same thing. Yeah. just all talking about the same thing, and a lot of it is just very wordy and confusing. Right. So it's like, I don't know. Why focus on what's happening after this? Are you so greedy that you need something better than what's happening right now? Is this such shit that you're hoping for something better? And, and I always ask people, I said, describe heaven. Nobody can, because nothing's better than this.
Nobody thinks about it either.
There's not going to be any crime. There's not going to be this. There's not going to be that. There's everything's, yeah, but you'll be so damn bored. You'll be bored as hell. Yeah. And so it's like, just be grounded, be simple, be, in tune with what's happening every day. And that's your life, because you only have one of them that you know of. Yeah. Right. And so I'm not going to be at the end of my life with regret. I'm going to be at the end of my life on my knees, just saying thank you, honoring that journey, being like, that was fucking amazing. Wow. The good, the bad, the challenge, the reward. Wow. That's where I'm going to be, because I feel I'm going to live life to the absolute fullest, right? I have a mild side and I have a wild side, and my God lives in between it. And I have to scratch both sides. Yeah. A monk in the morning and a rock star at night. Everything is on a spectrum. But again, then after death, what's supposed to come will come. Yeah. Why even worry about it? If you're so worried about that, it's like going to a race and focusing on the podium and you haven't even done practice yet. Right. It's like, whoa, hold on. It's like going to a race and focusing on getting the whole shot. You're already in the first corner, but you haven't even gone off the gate yet. So if you're already in the first turn and you haven't gone off the gate yet, well, you're going to miss what the most important part of getting the whole shot in those first 5 feet.
It's all in the moments in between.
Right? Yeah. So if you're already focused on what's going to happen after life, well, you're missing life.
So you're very much power. It's like the now. You can live in the now, live in the present moment, feel everything, soak it all in, and use what you've got right in this moment.
And it doesn't have to be some hippy dippy way, spiritual.
Well, everyone tries to understand it when you need to feel it.
Yeah,
when you feel it, it's truth.
Yeah, everybody feels like I have to wear a badge.
Right.
Okay, well now I'm a Christian, and well now I'm spiritual, and now I follow this. You know what I mean? Just be you. And if you are a little crazy, then be crazy. If you're a little weird, then be weird. If you're a little different, then be different. If you know what I mean? If you're a little shy, then be shy. Why be afraid of who you are, man?
Yeah. Well, you say you don't search anything, but you listen to your intuition. How did you come to trust, or how do you know your intuition is trustworthy?
Well, I guess I did this human design thing, and I was like, yeah, whatever. But dude, it nailed me to the ground. And
Really?
everybody that I take to do it nails them to the ground. And so my intuition is impeccable. And so, yeah, I've been listening to it for nothing and still sometimes don't. But then I started realizing when something happened later on, I had a feeling of it, like let's say some girl not being, truthful or whatever. But then a couple years later, I'm like, just there's things that have happened after situations that I went, I was right. And then you start to really start to trust it. You really start to trust it after a while, and it might not be right when that situation happens, but down the road that the truth comes out, and then you go, fuck, I was right. Wow. And so then you start to trust it. Then after a while, you just start to listen to it. And then after a while, you stop questioning everything and just allow what's supposed to come. So for me, my biggest thing is I show up for everything.
Yeah.
And that's where men are going wrong, is they don't know how to show up. They can talk and they can look and they can act, but nobody can show up. And so I show up for the good and I show up for the bad. And I don't question it at all. I've been paralyzed 4 times. Do I hold on to anything? No.
Well, I mean,
am I bummed that I can't ride a motorcycle anymore? No, not at all. What's supposed to happen is supposed to happen, or it wouldn't have happened.
Well, that's one of your superpowers. You said is acceptance. It's one of the first things. Just accept reality and accept the good, the bad, wherever you're at. You're here, and you don't know how you got here sometimes, but you're here, and your intuition, your conscience, whatever people want to call it, is going to guide them out. And I'm curious, what do you feel is the biggest block preventing people from actually listening and trusting their own intuition? Because so many people are called, they have these callings, and they spend 30 years trying to prepare to go and pull the trigger on it, but they never do.
Well, 2 things. 1, fear of failure. Well, maybe 3 things. Fear of failure, fear of what they think people are going to think of them, and social media. Oh my God, look at this guy has this and that guy has that and this guy has, it's just like, it's almost like you're so afraid to pull the trigger because you don't feel like that you're going to measure up.
Yeah.
And if I don't do it this big or this way, well, then it means nothing. Right. And so I feel the fear of failure, the fear of what they think people are thinking of them or saying about them. And then the idea that I have to be this, and then you become suffocated. You become suffocated. We can go, is that the only thing that's holding men back? No. The biggest thing is their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Their lifestyle. You're taking showers and baths in I guess public water, tap water. Tap water, one of the biggest pollutants in it is men or women's birth control. Estrogen. Your skin is your biggest organ of your body. It's like a sponge.
Yes,
So estrogen there. Most men drink the shit out of beer. It's a bottle of estrogen, right? Then you're plastic. Then you're this, and then you're that. So again, and then their testosterone levels are so low. They're so full of estrogen, so you turn into a bitch, right? And you're not doing anything in your life to detox it. Yeah. And heavy metals, heavy metals from the sky, from the water, from the pollutants, everything that you do is now another, mental killer. And so people aren't detoxing themselves through their food, through their saunas, through their workouts, through their yoga, You know what I mean? They're not unwinding stuff, you know. All your past traumas, your past injuries, your past everything gets trapped in your muscle fascia. So the best ways to get that out is through yoga, you know, is to stretch it, bend it, compress it to get it out of you.
Yeah.
Right? Or it gets stuck in you. And so, you know, you got to have a lifestyle of being clean of what you're putting in, but then you have to have a lifestyle of detoxing, getting it out. And so, and when you're stuck in the, and also when you're stuck in the city 24/7, let's say you're in an apartment or a condo, how many fucking people have Wi-Fi? Every single one of them. How many people have smart phones, smart fridge, smart toilet, smart TV, smart,
Yep.
5G? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then again, you're a product of your environment. What about everybody's emotions? You know, humans' emotions are very powerful. Right. So if they're stressed, if there's fear, if there's this, well, you're going to start becoming that. Right. Even brake dust, just so much stuff that people aren't realizing.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't ever get out into nature. You know, so a lot of people come out here, not a lot, hard to get people to come out here, but either they're just like, they're so just relaxed, grounded, or they feel nervous because they don't have this weird energy that makes you kind of like edgy. You know, when I go into town now, it's like I feel so like
It's
just
not the place.
quick-tempered and edgy because it's just chaos. It's absolute chaos. And my woman didn't notice it, but now she knows it. When she comes back, you can just see her go, holy shit. You know, and I say, that's starting to happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
And she's like, yep. So again, there's not one thing. You know, it's like your life is like a wheel on a motorcycle or a bicycle. You know, and you have to torque every spoke to the same torque to make it straight. If you only pay attention to 3 and you forget about 5, well, now you got a wobbly wheel, you got a wobbly life. So you have to torque everything to what you eat when you go to bed, what you watch, what you listen to, who you hang around, what you believe, right? And then all these things to start making the difference.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to go crazy. Just touch it. Just chip at it. You know, but then also allow yourself to be free, allow yourself to be lazy, allow yourself to be unmotivated, allow yourself to be a little wild, because we all have that in us.
Yeah, we do.
And so when I'm lazy, I'm lazy. I don't give a shit. You know, when I want to go throw it out on the night, I go throw it out on the night, you know, and it's like a 6-to-1 ratio. 6 days a week, 1 day a week, let's go, you know. But then after I kind of blow that seriousness out, I'm so motivated to get serious again. But if I'm serious too long, I start to get uneasy, right? So you gotta start knowing yourself, and who cares what anybody else's path is. That's their path. I've never seen anybody wear those cowboy boots except me, right? And so everybody wants to follow a path that's already been paved.
Yeah.
And so like I say, when we look at that mountain there, Palomar Mountain, right? And we're going to go to the top, that's high point, 6,500 feet. You're going to take the dirt road that the tractor graded, right? 40 foot wide, can't get lost. I'm going to go straight up the front, all right? No path. When we get to the top, we're going to exchange stories. Your story will probably be, yeah, it was cool. Oh, it was a long time. I saw an eagle, thought I heard a rattlesnake. I got bored and I called my mom, but yeah, it was cool. How about yours, Ryan? Dude, I swear, I had to run for my life. There was a mountain lion chasing me. I almost fell off a cliff. I got lost. I ran out of water. I'd just have such an amazing story because I went down my own path.
Right.
Right? And you took a path that was already set out. And that's where I feel people go wrong, is that they're trying to follow a path that's already been sought out. Read the road signs, but make your own way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people out there who have gems, absolute gems that are road signs to be able to help you through your life. But you don't have to just follow them like a puppy dog, right? Because then where do you learn? Where do you learn? Where do you go wrong? Where do you hit dead ends? Where do you stumble? Where do you trip? Where do you fall?
Well, where does somebody start? Somebody who wants to turn around, but they've got their life. They've got 50,000 possessions, a mortgage, 2 cars, kids, a wife, and they're just like, fuck, this isn't the way.
Yeah.
What would you say their first step should be? Like, do they go out and just do a sabbatical in nature what's the first step?
Well, I would say the first step is is looking at the roots of your life, meaning like, let's say, get a piece of paper and write down what makes you happy in life, or what gives you a good feeling in life. Your family. Yeah, there's some hiccups in it, but you got a family. You got a wife, you have kids, a husband, and you have kids, and everybody's healthy. Cool. There's a lot of people that don't. I have a house. Yeah, maybe it's not the house you want, and maybe it's a little expensive, but you have a house. You have a car. Yeah, I'd like that Ferrari, but I have a Toyota. Well, okay, but you still have a car. You know what I mean? So all these things that you have that maybe a lot of people in the world don't, that brings you, security and happiness.
Yeah.
Right. So you have that, and then you make another list of, okay, what do I need to change, or what do I need to not change? What do I need to chip away at in my life and in myself? You know what? Okay, I need to bring down my bills. I need to chip away at that. You know what? I need to start paying attention to my kids a little bit more, or whatever. And then also, you know what? I need to start, maybe focusing on, eating a little bit better, maybe going to the gym a little bit, So if you have a list of what makes you happy and what the things that you need to kind of, improve, then you can kind of start there. But if you don't have it written down, or you don't have it in your head of what is solid in your life and what is shaky in your life, well, then you don't even know where to start. And then you're just going to start just throwing darts in the dark. You're over here going, oh, yeah. I go, no, dude, the dartboard's over there. Mm-hmm. And it's not just changing why do you need to change yourself? How about chip away at yourself?
Right.
How about chip away yourself? Everybody wants to make a change, because the mind is either 100 or 0.
Yeah. It's
100 or 0. You know what I mean? And that's how the mind works. And so, but if you can take that out and start going to, what do I feel that needs improvement, not what do I think needs improvement? Because whatever you think, you're going to go towards maybe what social media, David Goggins runs 100 fucking miles every day. Yeah, but the dude's hiding something. Not hiding something, didn't he? Just inside himself. Yeah. Why do you have to punish yourself to make yourself happy? And then once he does 100, now he has to do 200. Once he does 200, he has to do 300. You know what I mean? Yeah, like there's no stop. There's no stop to trying to be the fittest man on earth or the toughest man on earth. Okay, cool. You can do more push-ups than me. Good job, dude. Awesome. I'm stoked. I like it. But I guarantee if you hang out with some of these guys, you're going to see a lot of holes that you have also, meaning that they're not superhuman, and they're not waking up with a smile on their face 24/7. Right. And that's where men have gone wrong. If you're not, it's like even these men groups and stuff like that. It's like they're taking it so far. Sure. Like you need to change this, and you need to be this, and you need to have this. And just like you said, you can have everything. How about just make yourself better, man? And a lot of times it's being simple, and it's taking a breath and taking a step back.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And taking a step back and realizing that more is just more. More is just more. You know what I mean? And when you can just you can take a breath in life instead of, almost at a panic all the time, just trying to keep up or trying to be something, then life becomes a lot softer. Life becomes a lot easier, because life isn't very difficult. It's not very difficult at all. You know what I mean?
No,
it's just the more shit you bring in,
we like the more complicated.
Yeah, the more shit you bring in, the more difficult it gets.
Yeah.
Right?
Have you, throughout your career in motocross, have you learned any life lessons from that sport, from those experiences that you still carry today? Like, I feel like you can learn life lessons through any method, right? Motocross, baseball, business. You can learn life wisdom finds you.
Yeah.
Anything that spoke to you specifically through motocross, you're like, man, like this applies to every aspect of my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think what you heard. One is consistency. You got to show up at, as much as you can.
Yeah.
But be okay with the days that you're lazy, and the days you just don't feel like it. Be okay with it. You can't be motivated. You can't be consistent every single day, or you just get burnt out, right? You got to be consistent. Then you have to have discipline. Discipline to stay away from what's going to lead you off your tracks, and discipline to, stay on the tracks.
Right.
But there's days that you want to fall off them. You just want to take a step off a little bit. And be okay with that, right? So you have consistency, you have discipline, and then you have fortitude. You know, because there's gonna be challenges. It's not gonna be picture perfect all the time. And once you say that I'm going to do this or I'm gonna be that, just like that person that says, okay, I'm done drinking, I'm never drinking again. What happens next weekend? The best party on earth. Right? You know, because there's a test, there's a challenge. Okay, you say you want to do this. All right, we'll see how dedicated and motivated you are. Right? So consistency, discipline, fortitude, you know, is the things that help in everything, in a relationship, in rebuilding yourself. Right? In building an off-grid place, of building a business, of being a great athlete. You know, these three things are, you know, very powerful because, you know, if you're not consistent with something and you don't have discipline over something and you get thrown off your rails every time there's a challenge, life's going to be difficult, man. Yeah. Life's going to be difficult. But when you are so fixated on that you feel like, you know, that if you don't do it, that you're less than, or that you're not motivated. Right. Well, no, there's nothing in life nothing in life's a straight line, except when you die, your heart rate. Right? Everything in life has its ebb and flow. Right. Ebb and flow. And so that's when you have to have that with yourself, is be okay with that ebb and flow. Meaning that, hey, you know, when you're motivated and you got energy, then get it, boy. But when you're a little bit tired and a little bit well, then, you know, give yourself a break, man. Give yourself a break. Lay on the couch. Give yourself a rest. Yeah. Because you got to go down before you can go back up. Got to go down before you can go back up, right? And so, you know, there's no magic in it. It's just these roots. You know, these roots are what is the same with everything. So that's why I feel a professional athlete can be great at anything, because they have those roots of the consistency, that discipline, that fortitude. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you know, and also kind of almost like having trust. You need to trust, not belief. You don't need to believe. There's disbelief and belief. Mm-hmm. I believe tomorrow's going to be 70, but I haven't looked. Yeah. But I know today's 75. Right. Because I'm living it. Right? Right. And then also, you know, hope. Well, on the other side of hope is fear. Keep the hope. Well, man, I hope this is going to happen. I hope I get that job. I hope she's not cheating. Yeah. Okay. What's that sound like? It's fear. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you know, and wishing. I wish. Well, behind wish is stress. Right? So you just either you know or you don't know. And this is why I'm so black and white. And the same thing like with this little 4-year-old. I mean, it's a straight line. It's black and white, man. You know, she knows when I say it, I mean it. But she also knows that I never lie to her. Mm-hmm. No matter what. If it's Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, all that bullshit, I tell her the truth. I go, Santa Claus ain't real, girl. It's coming from your mom. And so we're not going to lie to you. Yeah, I think we're not going to lie to you, because then you're going to trust everything I say, because if I start lying to you from the get-go of this make-believe idea that Santa Claus is real, and then all of a sudden I tell you that it's not and laugh, you're going to be like, huh, what else are they lying to me about? Right? I mean, people don't realize that. And what don't you want your kids to do? Make up stories and lie to you. Don't make up stories and don't lie to me. Because if you lie to me, I'm going to make sure Santa Claus doesn't bring anything. What did you just do? You made up a story and lied to him.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest disservices I think parents can do to their kids is hold those stories, because it doesn't prepare the child for the truth and brutal reality of life sometimes. Yeah. And they get out there and they want to uphold this magic facade that, oh, the world is beautiful, everyone's nice. And then they move out on their own and the kids are shocked and they don't know what to do. And then they go into depression, and we got all these depressed kids in their 20s. And truth is so refreshing, and not everyone can handle it because they've been lied to their entire life.
Yeah. Or they've been telling themselves a lie, right, about who they are, you know. And most people are telling a lie of who they are because I wear this badge. Hey, I'm a. Yeah, oh yeah. And I'm identity. And that's the worst thing you can do is have a label. Yeah. And so I don't have a label of anything, right? I don't even know what my heritage is. I have no idea. People are like, why don't you check? Because I don't care. I'm a human being just like you. But if I know that I'm maybe, you know, Scottish or Indian or whatever it is, and then I'm gonna maybe have you know, some anger or something towards you, or if I'm a Christian and you're a Muslim or whatever, well, we can't hang out, right? But we love motocross. You know, we love Formula One. We eat the same food. We love to go to the gym. We do 10 things that we love to do together, but your God's different than mine. You know, so that IMA creates separation. Separation creates, disagreement. Disagreement creates, kind of like a battle. And a battle creates hatred. And it's all because you're wearing this label of I am.
Right.
Take out the I ams. You're a human being. You have 2 arms, 2 legs, 10 fingers, 10 toes, and 2 eyeballs. So do I.
Yeah.
You know, so does that other person has black skin. So does the other person that has slanted eyes, and so does the other person that's from the other, some other country. They just have a different sticker kit and a sound system. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, I've been around the world. I've been to 50 different countries probably, and not one. I have never met anybody that I didn't like in the beginning. You know?
Yeah.
Every single country I've been to, I've met the most amazing people, and everybody wanted, they want freedom, they want happiness, they want love, they want to protect their family. It's all the same. It's all the same, but it's just been this government or whatever that's trying to get us to battle and separate from everybody because they're different and they're wrong.
Yeah.
Right? And then if your theology has this idea that you're the chosen ones, and you're going to some place that nobody else is going, well, what happens? That creates an ego, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And that creates a judgment.
Well, it's so interesting. Like you said, nature doesn't make mistakes. And just like, we do have similarities in, 10 fingers, 10 toes, and 2 eyeballs, all that stuff. But we also have 100% different, unique life experiences. And we're so trained to focus on the differences that separate us rather than focus on the things that make us unique. But that's what makes us connected. The difference makes us connected. It's like, yeah, okay, you believe this about this God. I have my beliefs, but we still have a common love for this. So let's focus on that. Let's like, that's what brings us all together. But I feel like you're right. There's just so many forces working against us to keep us focusing on the division lines and keep us separate. And I noticed so many people from their 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s and 60s are just so isolated now because they don't feel like they can relate to anyone. And if they do, it's through a screen. Like you said, I think you've mentioned a cell phone. Like it's a cell. And we create this cell in our mind that prevents us from connecting in reality.
Yeah.
It's such a crazy, bizarre thing to me just to look out and witness. Sometimes, I live in a condo complex. Sometimes I just go walk around late at night and I look at all these people just watch this TV on, the windows, and it's just like they're not doing anything. No. They're immobile, sitting still, and I'm like, it's not just one.
It's not even condos. It's houses.
Everyone.
It's the track houses too. They're just bigger jail cells.
It's crazy to me.
Because Jeanette, my one woman, used to live in a track house when we first met. And I'd go there, and I'm like, fucking, where is everybody? There's nobody out.
I know.
Back when we grew up, everybody was out.
You didn't want to go home.
Everybody was out.
Yeah.
I mean, they had commercials on TV going, hey, don't forget about your children. No, serious. Serious.
Wow.
Don't forget about your children, because we were all wild. Now they're just these contained, soft, pampered, entitled people, but it's not entitled for the 10-year-olds or 12-year-olds or 20-year-olds. Even the 50s and 60s-year-olds are starting to get that entitlement. And, it's just, I forget the point that I was going to jump on when you were talking, but
with the cell phone and the isolation, but we have similarities, but everyone focuses on the differences. Yeah.
And that's the thing is that, because they think that they're right. Yeah. They think that they're right, and most what everybody's following has been written by man. No matter what it is, it's been written by man. Laws, religions, and ways, and all that's been written by man. And what does man have in them? The man has this need to control, to have power, to be better than, you know what I mean? So you got to be very careful, to me, of what you follow, because it's all been written by man. And then again, all religions are written by men. What happened to the women, man? What happened to the women? And women are following this shit. There's not a religion written by a woman. Doesn't anybody question this? You know what I mean? And what are men? Men are harsh. Yeah. Men are rulers. Men are dictators. Men are, there has to be two sides. Both sides need to work together. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It can't be one way or the other. or this world won't work. Everything, every plant, animal, rock, person has duality in them, a hard and a soft. It's kind of like the Republican and a Democrat. You need to have the soft, but you also need to have the hard, because if it's all just soft, it will melt away.
Right.
If it's all just too hard, well, then it'll turn to stone. So you have to have that constant challenge to progression. If you don't challenge something, it's never going to progress.
Right.
So it has to have that both sides, and I feel that this world is too one-sided on things. It's too one-sided because everything's been written by man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where's the women in it?
Yeah.
Where's their perspective? Where's that softness, right? And then everything is written to get you to some holy land in some place after life, right? Or everything is fixated on trying to become the best you can be in this life. And what is strange to me is everybody wants to leave a legacy.
Yeah.
For what? You're gone. You're gone. I give two shits. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I give two shits. When I'm done, I'll be bound to life, saying, "Wow."
What does that word? What does that word mean to you? Legacy.
Ego. Really? Ego. Because what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? Oh, I left it to my family, or there's a statue made of me, or this. Okay, well, congratulations. But you know what I mean? If you want to share.
Was there anything like?
Because sharing, look, I'm building this to share with everybody.
Okay.
Not to leave a legacy. And whatever happens with that share, cool. If they want to build a building and then that's fine. But it's not the idea to leave a legacy. It's about sharing. Because if you share, you care. If you care, you share.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know.
No, it's a huge thing in like the coaching world where it's like, well, are you leaving a legacy? And I question, like, what does that mean? Like, you're leaving an inheritance, you're leaving a way of life, you're living your life in such a way that someone's like, man, he's doing it right. We should follow his legacy. So it's like your lifestyle. There's many ways. It's such a loaded word. So that's why I was curious.
Leave this world with a good energy.
Right.
Leave your energy here. Not a legacy, because again, sometimes you want to leave a legacy. You're doing things corrupt, right? You're doing things corrupt.
Does service play a part in anything that you do, like doing things for other people, contributing to the whole, or is it just staying in your lane and doing what you do? Or
it's staying in your lane, but having time for people.
Yeah.
When someone comes up and wants to speak to you, you speak to them. When somebody comes up and needs your help, you help them. When somebody, is in need, you help them what they need. You know what I mean? And so for me, I always have time for people. And that's what a lot of people have recognized about me, because they think I'm so hard and this and this. They go, but dude, I hung out with you. Like, especially people that haven't been out to motocross with me. Yeah. They go, you make time for every single person. I say, fuck yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. And I look them in the eyes and I give them my time, because that's called respect. If you don't have respect, then you don't have time for people. Right? Yeah. And again, it's just like, for me, what's the best thing that you could do for somebody, in need? Well, how about give them a note or give them a letter saying, I'm going to give you 10 hours of my time. Not, here, I gave you, $1,000. Yeah. What? You went in the bank account, got $1,000, gave them to them, and now you're gone. Yeah. But couldn't you give someone 10 hours of your time, and in those 10 hours, what do you need me to do? You need me to mow your lawn, wash your dishes, just talk to you, drive you somewhere, clean your, Yeah.
That goes a long way.
95% of the people can give money. 5% of the people probably could give their time. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So if you can give your time to people, that is what I think this world is needing, because there's enough people that can give money. But there's not too many people that can give their time to people.
Well, there's the 4 currencies of life: time, energy, attention, and money. Money's last. It is a currency, but it's the energy and attention and the time that people are really hungry for in these days and need, and that would change the world. And if we all gave a little more of our time to everyone.
Yeah, and also how about give some time to yourself? And that's where people don't have is time for themselves, because they're too busy trying to become rich, trying to become successful, trying to become popular, trying to become beautiful, trying to become buff, trying to become seen, trying to leave a legacy, that they don't have time for themselves. And so what's almost like the 5 regrets when someone is on a deathbed? I wish I would have had more fun in life. I wish I'd have paid attention to my family more. I wish I would have, paid attention to had, more friends. I wish I would have just relaxed. There's nothing about gaining.
Yeah.
Nothing about gaining. Oh, I wish I had more money, or I wish I would have been more powerful. It's none of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's none of that. So, and the biggest thing is, you open your ears, man. Start to listen. Don't speak, just listen. Listen to people. Listen to nature. Listen, and also watch. Just see. Because that's your biggest one of your biggest gurus is just life itself, of learning to listen to it and see it and feel it, right? Because your guru lives inside you.
It's true.
Your guru lives inside. It's not some dude in some temple. It's not some dude that wears 45 beads. It's not some dude that says I'm celibate, but you have no idea. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
And it's none of that. It's your guru lives inside you, because that's your intuition, your instinct has been built up for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. If that's what you feel or believe or whatever it is. But I don't feel that, we come down here one time.
Yeah.
I feel that we repeat this thing and repeat this thing and repeat this thing to fine tune it, to fine tune it. I swear to God, it's like, I feel like I've lived here before, because I made a trail around here.
Yeah.
And these rocks have like the perfect place to step and the perfect place to step off. And just weird things. It's like, it's weird. It's like this big rock and there's a step here and then a step there. And like my trail just went around, because I have a trail around my whole property.
Yeah.
It's the most amazing hiking trail, and that's what my guy was running.
Yep. And,
I've done it myself, just shovel and rake. And I've made hiking, it's probably a 45-minute hike.
Wow.
Around, this 10 acres or more. And it's just like every little place I go to, it's just like there's perfect step that leads to this, that leads to that. And I don't know, but even this rock I've done my push-ups on, there's like kind of almost like handprints there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder if we just repeat things, you know what I mean? Because, it's almost like, maybe reality is like little rings of a tree. We're only this far apart.
Right.
What you see in life is only this much different than what I see in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like this huge separation. It's just like nobody can see what you see in your eyes. Even though I see this tree, but you might see it completely different. Meaning we can explain that as green and yellow flowers, but the way you see it could be completely different. But it's only like a ring of a tree different.
Right.
Right? And so maybe we... because there's people that look at this world and this life and think that it's so evil and dangerous and this, right? But then I look at it and I'm like, dude, this is fucking beautiful. It's amazing. I don't see any crime. I don't see any hatred. I don't see any disruption. I don't, yes, what I see on TV, but I never see it in front of my eyes. So maybe we're in the same reality, but we're seeing things just this much different.
Yeah.
Because of what your mind and your heart is kind of allowing or is allowing you to see, or
well, it's kind of like
you're projecting of what you're seeing.
Well, you seek and you shall find. So what it's like, if you see the world as beautiful and you see the world as unique and you see the world as this wonderful place that just is full of mystery, you go out and you experience that. But if you see the world as toxic and everyone's out trying to get you and everyone's selfish, well, then you experience that also. And it's the same reality. You're just looking two opposite ways.
Yeah.
And you get what you're looking for.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just the truth of life.
Like I go around and even like, my woman, she says, man, so many people just come up and just talk to you. I say, yeah. And everybody comes with like compliments or anything like that. And I don't know the people, and not that they don't know me, but it's just, I don't know. This is just what I see in this world.
Well, there's an energy with people, and that's why, like, I was drawn to you. I was like, dude, I got to get you on the podcast and just talk to you. But like the people who do know themselves, listen to themselves, lean into their conscience, and are connected with nature, and they're not separate from the world, but they have very clear boundaries of the world and themselves.
Yeah.
There's an energy that comes with that, and it's like you said, you've already been here before. It feels like it. But you're connected with source, life, God, the earth, and that is charging you up. And so you are naturally emanating a light that people are drawn to. And what happens with the brightest star in the sky? People look at that before they look at the ones who are, have doubts, have those things. And so you have this natural energy, and there's other people out in there who are they're just authentic to themselves. They're true to themselves. They make mistakes, but they don't carry it too long. They go, man, how do I fix it? They fix it and just move on.
Yeah.
And they don't carry all this burden. And so many people who carry a burden, they're pretty much covered up and they're dimming their own light. And you just have like a bright light.
Well, because the other thing is, I don't care to be perfect.
Yeah.
Once you try to be perfect, you become imperfect, right?
Yep.
Because now there's tension. Now there's fear. Now there's hesitation. And there's none of that in me, because I'm not afraid to fail.
Yeah.
What is failure? I mean, it's not failure. It's just learning to do something better.
Right.
Or knowing to do something different. That's it. And then there's this, I forget the name of the person, but we're not who we think we are. We're not what we think people think we are. We are what we think people think we are. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because we're not who we think we are, not what people think we are. We are what we think other people think we are.
Yeah. Everyone thinks I'm this, so therefore you project and
be that. Everybody thinks I'm ugly. Well, then you start to be ugly. Oh. But they don't think that. They might think you're fucking beautiful. Everybody thinks I have a big butt. Well, how do you know that? They might think like, damn, look at that butt. Yeah. It's you don't know. You're just making up this story, and so we just go off of stories our whole life, and that's where I think it's very childish for grown-ups to follow stories. It's like, why are you following a story? It's either real or not real. And so now you start making these stories up about yourself, and stories up about your life, and stories up about your past, right? And then you're just stuck in this big fantasy land.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
it's
like I tell riders, I say, to be a very good racer, you have to have a very bad memory. And like, what do you mean? I say, you can't bring the past into the present, man. Because you bring in the past in the present, just because it happened once doesn't mean it's going to happen all the time.
Right.
But if you keep living in the past in that situation, you start recreating this all the time. You're going to start preparing for what you don't want.
Yeah.
Right? So just like someone going into a corner and they start to hunch and get tight, well, that's because they've crashed in a corner so many times they don't want that to happen. So you don't want this front end to wash coming into a corner, so your body reacts to what you don't want. And so I always tell them, hey, always put your body in a position to get what you want.
Yeah.
Always put your body and prepare for what you want. And if it doesn't go right, well, at least you're in that strong, stable, coordinated position. And then it'll be less than. But if you go into this situation focused on what you don't want, well, now here comes this round, this tucking, this tightness. Well, when that unexpected situation happens, you just magnified it. Because it was met with tension, wasn't met with a flow.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the same thing in life. When you have this, it has, it's either it has to be this or it can't be that. How about just focus on what it is?
Yeah.
Everybody's too caught up in what it should be, what they think it should be, and what they think it shouldn't be, instead of about what it is.
That's true. That's true. And belief is one of the biggest things that guides people's actions. You got your belief, your action, your result. And if you believe it should be this way and it's not, then your belief is false. And you have to go back to what it is. What is the truth? What is the now? What is the moment? What are you feeling?
And then another thing is, how about be okay with not knowing?
Dude,
how about be okay with not knowing? I love not knowing. Like I won't look at my Instagram like on a Sunday if I'm out doing shit. I won't look at my Instagram all day, and I start to get on it. I start to get on it, and I can't look at it. And my woman's like, well, why can't you look at it? I go, because then I'll know the results, man. Yeah. The results of Formula One and Moto, all this stuff. I go, I don't want to know. I love surprises. Yeah. I love the unknown. And I don't care. To know everything. That's boring. That's boring, and that's a big ego too.
Yeah.
Because to me, if you don't know, then you respond to it in a very, I guess you respond to it with intuition.
Right.
Spontaneous. Yeah. You know what I mean? Not with a plan already. Because the mind will have a plan. It's just like if you go out to, let's say you meet a girl and you go out to dinner. Already the mind's like, well, man, if we click, then we can this and that, and then we can have a relationship. Facts. And da-da-da-da-da-da. And then so once the mind always has to have a path and a result. And so now you just showed up fake because you're making sure that you fit in this box that will get you to that end result that the mind made up, instead of just coming into it with spontaneousness. Right?
Do you teach this stuff? I noticed you do some lifestyle retreats. Is this something that you teach people? Or is this just something you're passionate about and talk
I don't know.
about?
I just think everybody's scared of me, man. Like, I swear, it's I put stuff out and I promote stuff, but I don't get much back from it.
Really?
And I just think that it's not scared of me, but just maybe people don't know how to get me. Because either you get this guy that is a lifestyle guy. Well, he perfect and eating perfect and don't this and you ate seed oil and fuck, dude, let's have some tequila, bro. But then in the morning we're gonna meditate. Right. Hey man, let's go help this person. But no, this person flipped me off. No, fuck you. Right. It's like I'm two-sided.
Yeah.
And it's not two-sided by being lost. It's just that I recognize both sides of myself, and so it's very difficult, I think, for people to kind of like understand me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so maybe that's where I kind of
but isn't that kind of like the yin and the yang? Like there's the dark in the light in the dark. There's little bits of, and even with God and the devil, like how did the devil even come to exist? God created everything, so God must have had a little bit of the devil inside of him. So it's like that's the thing that I think a lot of people.
This world wouldn't go around if it didn't have both sides.
But people limit themselves and they don't embrace the dark side or the wild side. Like you said, you got your mild side, your wild side. People don't embrace all of themselves. They want to be in this cookie cutter perfect image that the world accepts and that everyone loves, but it's like, no, you're all of it. We have dark thoughts, we have depressing thoughts, we have super high brilliant thoughts, we have all the thoughts. Yeah, I mean, all of us do.
There's not a single person on earth that hasn't probably had that thought of killing themselves come in their mind. It's come into my mind many times, but it's not like I followed anything. Sure. It's just, it'd be much easier if I was just gone.
Right.
Then, oh shit, man, that's a beautiful sunrise, isn't it? You know what I mean? And so, but people are like, no, who cares? It's like everybody thinks if we wiped out evil in this world, that the world would be a better place. No, it wouldn't be, because you wouldn't know what good is.
Right.
You wouldn't know what happiness is. Yet you have to have both sides.
Right.
And God is going to bring me this, and the devil caused me to do that. No, bullshit. It was you. It was you that accomplished this, and it was you that failed at it.
Extreme responsibility.
Not
extreme
anything
ownership.
else. But that's another thing with humans, is they want to put the blame and the praise on everybody and not give it to themselves, because we've been taught to not be too proud of ourselves.
Yeah.
Not to boast of ourselves.
Yeah.
No, you should be proud of yourself, bro. Because you know how many times you've probably got out of bed when you didn't want to get out of bed. You know how many times that you put those shoes on to go to work when you were unhappy and depressed, but nobody knew. So how about give yourself credit a little bit? How about give yourself a pat on the back? How about say, I did this, and not put it out to something, something, or blame it on something. No, you know what? I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
You know what? I shouldn't have acted that way. Not the devil made you. No, you fucking did it. It came out of your mouth. It came out of your hands. You walked up to it. You stole it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You went to the strip club. You didn't listen to your intuition saying you probably shouldn't go.
Well, it's easier that way if the devil made you do it. It's easier for people to stomach it because they don't want to see themselves as evil or vengeful or angry or bitter because the devil did it.
No.
And then God can bring all the blessings. So there is this absentee mind that is plagues a lot of religious believers. But you're right. Extreme responsibility is it goes back again to acceptance. It's not the devil. It's not God. It's me.
Yeah.
Everything that is happening to me in my life is me.
Yeah. Like they say, heaven and hell lives an inch apart.
I
Right?
heard that one.
Because you can be in a shit mood, right? Like, let's say you're just fucking life and this and my girlfriend and then all of a sudden I call you. Hey, bro, what's up, dude? Oh, my God, I got the best story. You should hear this. Da, 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 da. And all of a sudden you're like, no way, really? And hey, meet me in 10 minutes down here. We're going to go have some fun. Okay, let me get my shit on. What happened? You were just in such a bad mood, and then one phone call from your friend, you're just in a good mood. So heaven and hell lives an inch apart.
Yeah.
And also heaven and hell lives in between these two things. Right? Because it's only what you think. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's
You
so
know,
true.
it's not, if you listen to your intuition doesn't have a heaven and hell in it. It doesn't have a God and a devil. You know what I mean? It only, it's a guide. And that's one thing that, you know, my daughter, I talked to her, she goes, Dad, you know what? One of the best things, one of the things I love you so much about is that you never talked at me when you took me to school. You always just talked about life and talked about life lessons. And even if I did something bad, you had a lesson behind it or a story, not you did this and you shouldn't do this and you're being punished. No, it was never that. It was like being a guide. And that's where parents should be. Don't be a parent, because a parent is kind of like a dictator.
Yeah.
You know, be a guide. A guide will allow your kids to mess up. A guide will allow your kids to, be different. And then they'll start coming around. You know what I mean? They'll start coming around. And so,
because that's their life journey.
Yeah, they have to learn. They have to learn their lessons. You can be a guide, and yes, you can definitely watch out when they get too far or on the wrong tracks and stuff. But you have to allow them to have their freedom to understand themselves and to be. Like little Isabella, she went to school with cowboy boots on, one sock up to here that was pink, the other sock up to here that was red, a black skirt on with a flowered shirt on, and I'm like, hell yeah, hell yeah, And she, she'll come home and go, hey, cowboy, because she calls me cowboy. She's like, I was good today. I'm like, I don't care if you're good. I go, did you have fun? And she's like, yeah, I did. You know what I mean? Because everybody's so worried about being good or bad or this and that. Like, I don't care if you're good or anything. Did you have fun today? Yeah. Because that was my mistake with my kids, was my son, because I had my kids when I was young, so I was still this competitive, racer. And so anything that he did, sport-wise or whatever, hey, were you the best? Yeah. Did you win? And I was like, whoa. I didn't realize that until later, and I'm like, man, I should have asked him, did you have fun? That's it.
Right.
Because that's all everything should be, is fun. If it's not fun, why in the hell are you doing it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some things you got to do that's not fun, but can you make it fun?
Right.
Like working on my property. Sometimes it's not fun, but then I look at how everything's growing and how everything's starting to come together, and how, artistic it is or whatever. So then it becomes fun to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It becomes fun to me instead of like a chore.
Yeah.
And
well, it's like you said, even picking your coffee mug, the best toothbrush, the best toothpaste. You have to enjoy every aspect of your life, and that takes work, and that takes thought, and that takes consciousness and being in the present moment and feeling. And I was going to ask, I'm pretty obvious, but do you think people are too distracted just to be?
Oh my God.
Everyone's trying to become something. They're always trying to be in that next step, that next milestone, that next person, the next level.
Well, because it's social media. Everything's the next, but also the mind. If you're stuck in the mind's always next. So social media, creates this next story, this next post, this next person, this and that. So you're never. It's like, even if I can't even go. If I went to a movie theater and watched a movie nowadays, I can't do it because the scenes are so short, like just 3 seconds, and it's just constantly flipping. But then you watch a movie from the 70s, and it's a long, drawn-out conversation and a sequence and a this and a that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's where, I think, people, it's like even this world now, it's like we're in the safest times on earth. We really are.
It's true.
People, we're in the safest times on earth and the easiest times on earth. But to get something done is so damn difficult, because of this technology, and then the person has so many other distractions.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get back to you. And then they get back to you, but then they got on their social media, then they got on TikTok, then they got this, and then they got a text, and then they got an email, and then you know what I mean? It's like it's takes so much time to get anything done now. You know what I mean? So back in the 80s or whatever, I got a problem. Hello? Okay, well, let me get to the, and they'd help you right there. But now it's like takes forever to get anything done. And so it's this world that's causing people to be, I guess kind of like unpresent,
Yeah.
ungrounded. shaky.
In the 80s and 90s, before cell phones came really into the place, like we had so many less decisions. You check your mailbox once a day. You didn't have email really, and so now we're just bombarded with, I think, probably 10x more decisions and things that we're exposed to. So it's it's
and
wild.
again, I look at my phone. But I have not control, because you never want to control. You have discipline over it. Like I only look at Instagram. I don't have all these other things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's it. I don't surf anything and search. I don't know. Just you have to have kind of some discipline over it, and then also some discipline over what you're looking at on social media. Right. You have to understand that that person just got out of Ferrari, but. Well, what else? Because let's say these people,
Mm-hmm.
and you know them kind of well, and they're showing you how great their life is, and just got this new house and this, but you also know them, and hey, their wife's a bitch, or their kids are jacked up, or they're completely out of shape, or they have a drinking problem. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's so much more to that, and what I always say is, like, if you want to find out what your I guess what your weaknesses are, or your whatever it is just, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but I guess even your bad habits, just watch your hands. And when you're bored, look what they grab for. When you're unhappy, look what they grab for. When you're in fear, look what they grab for. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And that will tell you what your weaknesses are. They'll grab for that when I'm bored. They'll grab for that when I'm stressed. They'll grab for that when I'm unhappy. Maybe that chocolate, or that beer, or that this, or that,
Yeah.
And then I'll also tell you what your true God is if I hung out with you, because I'll see what the first thing you grab for in the morning. Not too many people grab that Bible. Not too many people grab that, you know what I mean? It's probably a cell phone. It's probably a TV. It's probably, some
coffee,
some coffee, or some, or whatever else it is, right? And so you have to be selfish to be a little bit selfish less, if that's not a word, but selfish less, meaning by the first 2 hours of your morning should be all about you.
I agree.
Because then you're setting yourself up for the rest of the day. So if you give yourself, I wake up, the first thing I do is, I make this real powerful drink that I make, with oregano oil and black seed oil and lemon and apple cider vinegar and sea salt and blah, blah, blah. And then do that. And then boom, I sit out here for 30, 45 minutes, meditating by myself, and is my mind clear? No. Sometimes I ponder on stuff. Sometimes my mind's going wild, but I just allow it to go. And because sometimes it goes to something and I get an idea, or I get something I never thought about, and then from there I go for a walk, and I do my nothing hard, no strenuous anything, but just a lot of moving and twisting, because I need to do it because of, my back and my neck.
Yep.
Because I have rods and screws and plates and screws in my back and my neck, and I do that. Then I go and take my shoes off, and I walk my circle up there. I have this labyrinth that you walk around to a point.
Yep.
I unwind what I don't want, or what I want to change, what I want to fix in my life, or, kind of push out of my life.
That's cool.
And then when I get to that point, then I say my gratitude, and then I wind up what I want to bring into my day.
Yeah.
I want to bring peace. I want to bring happiness, or joy. I want to bring abundance, fortitude, acceptance, all these things. And then I wind it up till I get out. And then I walk up to there and, watch the sun, do some more movements. Then I'll come down the trail and come here. Then I'll get my coffee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then I'll get my coffee. Then I'll look at my phone. But not before that. I'm going to tune myself in, because everything,
your roots.
Everything comes from you. Every thought, every emotion, every hobby, every love, every dislike, everything. 1,000 different thoughts, 1,000 different emotions, all these. Everything comes from you.
Right.
So when you can, and you're the seed to everything. You're the first point. You're the beginning. So if you can water that seed with the most organic material, well, every situation you come to is going to be, more than fulfilled. If I have a conversation with somebody, I'm going to be more present. I'm going to have more time for you. You know, if someone's treating me in a different way, well, I'm going to come to them in a maybe a softer way. You know, I'm going to have an idea for something. I'm going to have time for something. I'm going to have energy for something.
Yeah.
You know, everything's going to, you know, benefit. But if you water that seed with unorganic or unhealthy material, meaning right when you wake up, you're looking at porn or, you know, this or that, or the first thing you do is a fucking donut, or you don't do any movement, or you don't have any time for yourself, well, then everything that is going to come into your life is going to be less than. You're not going to have time for people. You're going to be irritated. You're going to get tired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to be unfulfilled. Your desires are going to be out the roof. You're not going to be happy with your chick because you've been looking at all these other chicks.
Yep.
Right? So just, you got to have, again, here comes discipline.
Yeah, you're watering your roots, you're priming your roots in the morning, and it sets you up for the whole day. And every single decision we make has to be the biggest decision of our life. What we do immediately then, like it's delayed gratification in a way, but it's also it's definitely self-control and discipline and just consciousness and care. You care about the rest of your day, so that's why you want to start it the right way. You care about yourself. That's why you want to prime your mind, prime your body, get yourself loose, shake off whatever. And then if you have something that you're carrying from yesterday, you unwind it. I love that ritual. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Because again, taking your
that.
shoes off and being on the ground is so powerful, man.
Mm-hmm.
And people forget about that.
Yeah.
It's so simple. Looking at the sun when it rises with your eyes, straight at it. You know, you can look at the sun for 2 hours from after sunrise, and you can look at the sun for 2 hours before sunset. I mean, because there's a redness to it. You know, it's infrared.
Yeah. And
so that gets into your eyes, and that really starts to ground you. That boosts your HGH in you, boosts testosterone. It balances your hormones. All these different things. You know, the medicine is right there in front of you, and this whole bullshit that you shouldn't be in the sun. You should bake in the sun, dude. The reason that you're getting this cancer and all this stuff is that stuff that you're spraying on you or you're rubbing on you. You know, again, you're being cooked from the sun, so you're putting these carcinogenics on you and this poison on you that's getting soaked into your body, and people aren't realizing this shit.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
You know, if that sun was so bad for you, it wouldn't be there. It's just like in yoga, they say, hey, don't straighten your leg out. Don't lock your knee. What do you mean don't lock my knee? I can do it naturally. And then if I lock my leg out, well, then I can stand there like a light post. But if my knee's bent, well, now there's movement to it. There's wobbleness. There's no stability to it. Right?
Yeah.
You know, so it's like a lot of things people are kind of, to me, fooled on. If it's here for a reason, or it wouldn't be here.
Yeah, well, there's natural
ways. If the body can't do it, if the body can do it, well, then it's meant for it to do. Right? And so...
Well, there's natural ways for us to get, like you said, testosterone and our hormone balancing and circadian rhythm get synced up, and it's all in nature, but everyone wants the fast track. Everyone wants to go get the TRT shots. Everyone wants to go get the hormone test. Everyone wants to take this NAD and peptide this, and it's like everyone just wants the shortcut. Like you said, I'm looking at this mountain behind you, and I'm looking at all the paths and how crowded those are in real life, and there's very few people who just take the hard path, but the better story. That ultimately will make them stronger if they did that every single day. The people walking up the path, they're not going to get any stronger. They're not going to have any more vivid of a life than the person who's charting their own course.
Yeah, well, and again, I always tell somebody, I go, how about stop reading everybody else's book?
Amen.
Stop reading everybody else's book. Stop reading everybody else's book. How about start reading your own? Read your own book. Read your book from the past. Ponder on it. You know, understand it, so then you can understand it, so you can write a new chapter, the future of a beautiful story. Right? But if you're always reading everybody else's story, well, then you're going to start becoming that. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't read much at all anymore.
Yeah.
I don't. And it's not because of anything. I want to read my own story. And, you know, it just seems like I'm just reading the same thing. You know, this self-help book is the same as the same health book. This religion is kind of the same as the other religion, just spoken a different way.
Yeah.
You know, this spiritual master is saying the same thing as that spiritual master. It's kind of like kind of got bored of it, So, but I'm not bored of my own book, and it's not an ego thing, and it's not a pride thing. It just seems more simple to me, and I become more wise reading my own book, because, my life is really, it kind of has to come first. I mean, and that's the thing, is that all these things are teaching you not to put yourself first. Bullshit. You have to put yourself first, so then you have time, you have energy, you have want to help others.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have time for yourself, you're going to have such little time. And then if you are doing all that stuff, you're doing it only for reasons of maybe bringing yourself good luck, or to get to some fictitious place, or for how you think people look at you.
Yeah.
And perceive you.
Yeah, you gotta.
Oh, there's Johnny. He goes to our church. He's such a good guy. Yeah, but you don't know, he just goes home and looks at kiddie porn. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But just because he does that, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
mean, look at all these. Look at all these these fundraisers and stuff happen. Even Black Lives Matter and all that. It was so dirty. Oh, we're helping this, but then you start to really look at the things, and it's like, holy shit, how much money did they steal? Jeez. How much money did they take? And that's from all these organizations, Do
you believe in karma?
I think, I believe in karma, and
is payback coming for like the BLM? Or people
I
who
just think
steal
that,
or take advantage of the humanity that?
Everything just comes around.
Okay.
Everything will come around. But it's not that I did something, now this is going to happen to you. But if you keep doing the same thing, it's going to finally catch up to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, that's, to me, is what karma is repeating the same thing over and over and over and over and over, for it to finally, tail to finally come back and be eaten, so to speak. But just because you flip somebody off because a guy cut you off and you got pissed real quick, doesn't mean you're going to all of a sudden have something bad happen to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just because that's taking a little too far. But now if you're going around causing people havoc all the time, well, then you're going to meet that guy that's going to cause some havoc you don't want. Right. So it's like almost like a continual thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, if I don't pay attention to this tree and don't water it, well, the first week, no big deal. That's whatever. But then after a month, well, there's your result of not watering it, and now you're never bringing it back.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of how I say it's like a continual thing. It's not just instantaneous.
Yeah.
Some things maybe just to because life, God needs you to make a change. So some things kind of are drawn out, and other things are very instantaneously to try to get you to change, to shock you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And and I think kind of that's what I've realized in my life with some injuries and stuff, that it was talking to me, but then I didn't listen. That same guy was there, and then it was talking to me again, and I didn't listen because that same guy was there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then that guy kind of died, but then he kind of came out of the grave again, and then the same thing. I was like, hey, hold on. So I kind of got the message, like, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. But it took a little bit, and it took some very tragic, some very tragic incidences in that.
Life-changing instances.
Yeah, when you lay on the ground 4 times paralyzed.
Yeah, that'll do something to you.
That'll do something, because I was just at Paula Tuesday, and I was coaching this kid, and one of my buddies come up, older guy, come up, and we're talking, blah 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 blah, and we kind of got on the track, and we kind of got on the thing of God and religion, you know what I mean? And we're talking, and we think different, but I love debate.
Yeah.
I love debate, and it's not, I don't get angry at it. I just love it because I think debate is good. Debate is good because if you go into it with an open mind, you can learn something, or you can actually become more confident in your way.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, right? So we're just talking about that, and then I go, hey man, I gotta focus on my guy, and he's all right, man, have a good day, I'm gonna go right. He takes off, and then some guy comes over just like right away and goes, hey dude, your guy just crashed. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's right there. He goes, no, the guy you're talking to. And I went, oh shit. So I ran over there, and boom, paralyzed, neck down.
No way.
Yeah. got on the track, turned the corner, hit the jump, hit neutral, just fell over the bars, and boom, paralyzed neck down. So I went and saw him yesterday at the hospital. And
I feel like I called you that day. I feel
yeah,
like I
probably.
talked to you just recently, just after that.
Yeah, so
That's
then,
wild.
you know, so just like, you know, so seeing that, but, you know, so there's been a lot of things that I've gone through that have changed me in a way of just not, I don't know, just like you kind of stop caring so much. And that's what I tell people, just don't care so much.
Yeah.
Just let it go, let it be, let it do, you know, show up, put your best foot forward. That's it.
Yeah.
What happens, happens, man. You know, what happens, happens.
That's true. It's such a simple truth. So as we wrap this up, what's your final message? What's the message that Ryno's got to the world right now?
I guess be you. Be you. Be authentic. You know, be a little different.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of what you think people are saying or thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just there's enough people in this world that are the same. There's enough people in this world that are powerful, enough people in this world trying to be rich. There's enough people in this world, you know, but there's nobody that's unique anymore. There's nobody that has any juice to them. You know, everybody's gotten dried out.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's juicy anymore. And so that's the same thing for me. It's like, you know, tomorrow you're invited if you want, but we're having a little music event up here, you know? And so I go out and the music is, it's not cool. It's not good. You know, to me, it's shit. And then the people just, there's nobody unique anymore.
There's no life.
And everybody's just kind of, you know, to themselves or whatever it is. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bring it to myself then. And so I'm having the music that I like, I'm having the food that I like, and I'm having the drinks that I like, and invited many different types of people. You know what I mean? It's not one way. I just said, young, old, religious, not, man, woman, what, I could care less. I could care less, you know? Just come and let's have some fun in a very unique, simplistic, you know, no rules, no police, no bouncers, you know, things aren't, you know, a drink isn't costing you $24.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just bring it, let's rewind this shit. Right? So what I'm saying is, you know, be unique, be yourself, be one of a kind. You know, it doesn't mean you have to be crazy or anything, but just don't be afraid to stand out. Don't be afraid to not know.
Right.
Don't be afraid to look different or you know, I guess even believe different or look at the world in a different way. You know, there's enough plain people. Like, we need some juiciness to this world, right?
Amen.
And you know, it's not a message, but just it's, you know, there's no other message than just being yourself.
It's true.
Right? Just be yourself and be happy with who you are, and because again, you know, people come up to me and say, "Oh, Ryno, man, you were my hero and this and that." And I'm like, whoa. I go, I did one thing better than you, and you probably do 10 things better than me. But that one thing got recognition. So don't put me on a pedestal, please.
Right.
You know, just, you know, be grounded.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, thank you so much for not holding back your grit, your passion, your commitment to truth and to health and to lifestyle. I mean, it's something that this world desperately needs more of, and I 100% agree with 99% of everything you said. And to everyone listening, if today's episode made you uncomfortable or challenged the way you think or lit a fire under your ass to take more ownership of your life, then I'd say that we did our job. That's exactly what this podcast is about, is to expose you guys to different ways of thinking so that you can see that it doesn't have to be like that or like this. It's like you. Just like Ryan said, be yourself. So remember, you were not created to live in a cage. You were made to walk boldly in the life that God gave you, or whatever you believe. But take ownership of your life and walk fearlessly through it. Ryan, where can people find you if they want to follow you or get in touch with you or work with you?
I guess on social media they can find me at Ryno Global. At Ryno Global. I guess websites, the RynoInstitute.com.
Okay.
And then, of course, my supplements, Ryno Power.
Awesome.
You know, that's another thing. And then That's really about it.
So if you guys want to buy Ryno a beer, you guys know how to get in touch with him.
No. Not a beer.
Not a beer. It's tequila.
Only tequila.
Tequila.
Only
tequila. If you want to get better at
only
riding,
tequila and tequila on the rocks, straight. No, nothing else.
You don't even have to ask him. Just send it to his table now. But if you guys want to get better at riding, if you guys want to just learn more about life and just communicate with an awesome human being, then you guys know where to reach out. And as always, friends, stay rebellious, stay faithful, and live with purpose. And I'll see you guys next time on the Rebel Project podcast.